Hey everyone, today I want to talk to you about rate and unit rate. So there are some notes on the front side of this sheet. We're going to skim through them just for the parts that we need. So the first thing I want to talk about is a rate. A rate is just basically comparing two quantities of different units. So you can see in this example, Paul ran a 5-kilometer race in 24 minutes. So if we were to write that as a rate, it would be 5 kilometers over 24. And rates need to be labeled. So that's why that kilometers and minutes are on there. They need to be labeled. Just like any other ratio, you can also simplify them if you want to. The main type of rate that we are going to deal with is called a unit rate. So a unit rate is a type of rate that we write as a fraction, and it always has a denominator of 1. So a denominator of 1. So for instance, Jessica earned $14 by babysitting for 4 hours. So her rate of pay would have been $14 for 4 hours, but we want to figure out what she earns for 1 hour. So because the hours are what we're looking for the 1 of, that becomes the denominator. I look at what I'm doing to get from 4 to 1. Well, I'm dividing by 4. So I would do that on the top as well. So if you use your calculator, you'll see that 14 divided by 4 gives me 350. So 350 per each hour is what we're using for unit rate there. Go ahead and flip to the back of your page. Here we have some examples as well. So they ask us to find the rate and then the unit rate. So number 1 says 140 miles on 5 gallons of gas. So if I write that as a rate, first I'm going to think, okay, I'm going to want to know how many miles I can go on 1 gallon when I find my unit rate. So I'm going to keep that gallon as my denominator. That way it's there when I go to do my unit rate. So 5 gallons is what's in the original rate. And then I'll put my 140 miles on top. So now when I go to find the unit rate of this, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here for you. When I go to find the unit rate for this, I'll use this same ratio I started with. But now I want just 1 gallon. So I think to myself, what am I multiplying or dividing 5 by to get to 1? Well, I'm dividing by 5. So same thing here. I'm dividing by 5. So 140, you can put that in your calculator then. Use your calculator if you have it handy, or else use your Chromebook. 140 divided by 5 gives me 28. So my unit rate is 28 miles per gallon. So let's look at number 2. 7 movie tickets cost $15. Well, I want to know what 1 ticket will cost. So ticket will be my denominator when I write my rate. And in my original statement, I have 7 movie tickets and $15. So I'll use that same ratio. Make sure you label. But I want to know what 1 ticket is. So what am I going to multiply or divide by to get from 7 to 1? I'll divide by 7. And I'm going to do that on the top as well. Divide by 7. So now I put in my calculator 15 divided by 7, and I get this. But you'll notice here in the directions it says round your answer to the nearest hundredth, especially if we're dealing with money, we always go to the nearest hundredth. So I have 2.142. Since that 2 is less than 5, I'm going to keep my 4. So my answer here would be 2.14, or $2.14 per ticket. Go ahead and pause the video and try number 3. All right, 14 inches of snow in 9 hours. So I want to know how much in 1 hour. So my snow would be my denominator. I'm sorry, hours, excuse me, would be my denominator. 9 hours. And then 14 inches. So I want to know what 1 hour is. So you should have divided by 9. In my calculator, 14 divided by 9. I've got a repeating decimal here. So since I have 1.55, my next number is 5. So that makes this 5 go up to a 6. So I have 1.56. So my unit rate is 1.56, 1 and 56 hundredths inches per hour. 1 and 56 hundredths inches per hour. Try number 4. $6 for 4 cans of tuna. And I want to know what 1 can is. So again, I want per can. So if I have 4 cans and it's $6, I want to know what 1 can is. So again, I'm dividing by 4. So same thing here, dividing by 4. And I get 1.5. Now we know since my unit here should be dollars, I can't just leave it as 1 5/10. That's not how we use money. So I would change this to $1.50 per can. Now, some of you are probably noticing that really all I'm doing is dividing the numerator and the denominator to get this. Like here, I did 6 divided by 4, but that's really here as well. And you'll get to see that it gets a little easier as we go through. We need to write it right now so that you understand where the denominator needs to go. So you'll need to write it out like this on your homework and on your sheets that you're completing right now, just so you can see the relationship between those two. But that's how you find ratios and rates.